Now that my dog understands the concept of looking at a neutral object for reinforcement, I'm now going to start incorporating that into some other stimuli in the environment. What we're going to do today is use a neutral helper. So you're going to start by choosing a person that your dog knows and isn't overly excited about. So someone who's just neutral, a friend, family member, something like that. So my setup is such that I have my dog on her mat. She's in a relaxed position on a leash, and I have plenty of treats with me. I also have 3 stations set up as well as a flat target. So these 3 stations are what my helper is going to ultimately approach. The stations create clarity for both my helper and my learner. So I'm going to have my dog situated so that she's looking at me, but she can look over at the helper. So with the first step, we're playing open bar, close bar. What's going to happen is my helper is going to approach the first cone, and when she does, it's going to be open bar. At that time, I'm going to feed my dog at a constant rate of reinforcement. So feed, 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 feed. Then my helper is going to walk back to our flat target, which is like our home base. I'm going to close the bar and stop feeding. We're going to work our way closer and closer so long as my dog is showing that she's comfortable. So at any point, if she shows that she's too excited or getting uncomfortable with the helper approaching, we're going to change our environment. In addition to that, if my dog doesn't look at the helper, I can assure you that she still is aware of the helper. So we're not too worried right now for the step of my dog actually looking at the helper. We just want her to make the association that when the helper approaches, food comes. So we're going to demonstrate that now. So I'm going to start with a handful of treats. My helper is going to approach the first cone, and I'm going to feed, 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 and she's going to walk away. I'm feeding away from my helper, so ultimately if Jane were to look over at her, the feeding is going to happen over here. So she's going to approach that cone again. I'm going to feed, 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 and she's going to walk away. So Jane's nice and comfortable with that. So now we're going to have my helper come a little bit closer. You can stay at each rep for as long as you want. So she's going to approach the purple cone. I'm going to feed, 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 and then she's going to walk away. We're going to do that for a few more reps. So I'm noticing that Jane is noticing my helper slightly. Jane has played this game plenty of times, so she's starting to remember that my helper approaching means that she's going to get treats. So she did a quick glance there because she's starting to get excited about that helper approaching because she knows it means reinforcement. All right, so Jane is all into the game, so we're going to get even closer. So my helper is going to approach the green target, and I'm going to start feeding. So it's open bar every time my helper stops, and then my helper is going to walk away. And depending on the comfort level of your dog, you can have your helper back up like mine is, or they can turn their back and walk away. So we're going to do one more rep coming to the green target. Jane is eagerly glancing at my helper, knowing that she means that she's going to get open bar. She's going to walk away. And that's our open bar, close bar. So now our next step is my dog, what I'm looking for is my dog is anticipating, like Jane has, that the helper approaching means that she's going to get treats. I'm really looking for my dog to start making that association before I go to this next step. So the next step, I'm going to use my clicker, and here's where I'm going to incorporate what we did with the neutral object. So when Jane looks at my helper, I'm going to click, and then I'm going to feed her, just like I would with the neutral object. My helper is going to approach. When she hears the click, that's my helper's cue to walk away. So we're going to try with the first target. So we're going to approach. Jane looked, I click, and feed. And then we're going to do that a few times. She looked, and Jane knows this game, so she's going to make my helper move fast. All right, and now Jane is doing this well, so we're going to reach our purple target. I'm going to click for her looking. Helper's going to walk away. So Jane's learning in this game that the helper never approaches all the way And that looking at the helper earns her reinforcement. So we're building a nice association with the helper approaching. So once we're, thank you. So once my dog is fluently offering the look, we can have you stop for a moment. Then I'm going to insert my cue. So my cue is going to be, where is the person? That's going to cue Jane. That looking over at the helper is going to earn her reinforcement. So at this point, Jane doesn't need movement to cue her to look. Your dog might still need that movement. So we're just going to have my helper approach the purple target. When she gets there, good girl, I'm going to click for Jane looking, and you can just stay there. I'm going to say, where's the person? Jane looks. I click and feed. Where's the person? Click and feed. Where's the person? So Jane, you can see Jane's doing just a little glance. She's not doing a big look at the person. That's her way of indicating that the person is in the environment. So you would incorporate this with many different people, and then eventually you can incorporate other dogs, but you always want to start them neutral. Work at a distance where your dog is comfortable. If my dog were to look and I clicked and she didn't look back, then that's telling me that it's too difficult for her, and I'm going to change the environments so that it's easier for her. So this is how we take our neutral object, look at that, and build it into the concept of other stimuli in the environment.